All right, so a couple people are at home today, so I want them to see this because I don't want you to miss any of our vocabulary words from A to Z. This is a really fun book with fun stories that will help us to expand our vocabulary, to learn some words we've never heard of, okay? But to do it in a fun way. So we're going to keep track of our words in a vocabulary book. And at the end, we're going to do something with the words. So this is the cool book. Like I said, my sister got this for me when I graduated college in 1996. It's an old book. It's called the Weighty Word Book, and it has stories for every letter of the alphabet for a different vocabulary word. So today we're going to start with A, okay? And the word is a basement. And it's all one word, but it sounds like a basement, like, you know, in your house, right? But that's not what it is at all. So let's listen to the story. We're going to try to figure out what it means, but it's going to be real clear by the end. And then we have a graphic organizer we're going to fill out for what we think it means, okay? So here's the story. Benjamin Vander Bellows worked for a very large and busy steamship company with offices all over the world. Benjamin's office was in New York and commanded a view of the New York timeline from the Hudson River to the East River and from the Bronx to the Village. Located at the top of the Cloud High building, Benjamin's office was on the 40th floor. Benjamin was proud of his office. "You're a lucky man, Bellows," a customer would remark, and Benjamin would reply, "The largest offices and the best secretaries are of course reserved for the most important people." Then he would cough and turn to one of his secretaries and say something like, "Now take this down, Mrs. Rightwell. The next steamship from Oslo will stop at Plymouth on the way to Rotterdam." And Miss Rightwell would interrupt and say something like, "I beg your pardon, Mr. Vander Bellows, but the next steamship from Oslo will not stop at Plymouth on the way to Rotterdam." Benjamin, you see, simply didn't know the things he was supposed to know. He was, in fact, not very smart. The president of the steamship company finally decided that because of his many mistakes, Benjamin would have to step down. So he called Benjamin to his office and said, "Bellows, I am moving you from the 40th floor to the 20th. Benjamin couldn't believe his ears. Nevertheless, he moved down to the 20th floor where his new office was half as large as his old one. Here he had a view of the 20th Street with all of its stalls and open markets. When customers came to call on him, he'd lean back in his chair and survey his office and say, 'This office, of course, is only temporary. I will be moving upstairs in a few weeks.' But in fact, he did not move upstairs. Called into the president's office a few months later, Benjamin said, 'If you'd like me to take my old quarters on the 40th floor, I can be packed and ready to move upstairs in a couple of hours.' But the president shuffled some papers on his desk and replied, 'As a matter of fact, Bellows, I had in mind another direction. Downstairs to the 10th floor.' Benjamin was amazed. 'Downstairs to the 10th floor?' he said. 'Whatever for?' The president drew a piece of paper out of the pile in front of him and said, 'Remember, Bellows, that load of cargo you ordered shipped up to the Nile to Cairo, Egypt?' 'Yes,' answered Benjamin. 'Well,' said the president, 'it was supposed to be shipped up the Mississippi to Cairo, Illinois.' The next day, Benjamin moved his office to the 10th floor. Although this office was only half as large as the one on the 20th floor, it had a good view of 10th Avenue and the docks. But only a few weeks later, Benjamin was called to the president's office again. 'Bellows,' said the president, 'you're moving downstairs.' Benjamin was crushed. 'There must be some mistake,' he said. 'Yes,' the president replied, 'dozens of mistakes. Remember the bathing suits that went to Iceland and the fur coats that went to the Sahara?' Benjamin wiped his brow and replied, 'Well, nobody's perfect.' The president angrily responded, 'Well, that's for sure.' Then the president leaned back in his chair and said, "Bellows, water seeks its own level, and so does ability. You're fit for an office in the basement." So, whenever a person has been lowered in position or rank or office, just as Benjamin was lowered from the 40th floor office all the way to the basement, we say that person has suffered an abasement. So the word abasement it means when somebody has been moved down, maybe in their job, they're demoted, moved down in position, okay, or rank, or their office, just like Benjamin, that person has suffered an abasement. So that's what abasement means. So we are going to go back to our seats. We're going to look at, well, first we're going to talk about that graphic organizer a little bit. Because we're going to fill it in and kind of keep that word abasement in our head. And that story, do you see how the story is supposed to help us remember the vocabulary word? Right? Do you know anybody who's ever suffered an abasement that got moved down from something? Thinking about myself.
Me and backbends.
Backbends. Well, maybe when I'm thinking about, I played softball and I wasn't the greatest. I was pretty decent, but there was a girl that was much better than me. So I guess I suffered an abasement when they moved me from second base to outfield for me, because I second base was what I wanted. So in my eyes, I looked at it as a kind of going down. That could be an example. Or somebody goes in rank. Maybe their rank as an officer, they're demoted. Who knows what demoted means? Calyx?
Means like if you have ranking, it like moves down.
So demoted is a synonym, a word that means the same as abasement. But abasement is more of a noun. So you'd say somebody suffered an abasement, okay? Whereas you'd say somebody was demoted. But they're synonyms. They mean very similar things. That's what a synonym is a word that means similar, like the same. So when we go back to our seats, I want you to open your vocabulary folder up to the graphic organizer, and we're going to fill it in together, okay?